such a treat to be able to see Margaret Mizushima in person in living color with a beautiful necklace that reminds me of your time in Colorado, which is where you had spent so many years writing your incredible series, your amazing Timber Creek Canine mystery series, which you keep doing and outdoing yourself each time. Now you live in the Olympic Peninsula of Washington State. It sounds exotic. Is it like an island? Are you at the tip of something? I know nothing about geography.
It's okay. We are at the tip of something, but it's still a pretty wide peninsula. We're talking, I don't know, 60, 70 miles, probably even a little bit more than that. So it doesn't feel like we are, but we're on the northeast side of the peninsula. And so we do get the Hood Canal and the Strait of Juan de Fuca curves around where we are. So we do get some of the water things as well as a nice view of the Olympic
Wow.
mountain range.
Sounds rather dramatic. Now, Dying Cry, your newest Timber Creek Canine mystery, is not set there, but are you thinking, and we'll talk obviously about this book a great deal more, but are you thinking of putting your future books in this new exotic location?
Mattie and Cole live in Colorado, which
You
is where
do.
we moved from, and that's where my heart also is much of the time. I did set Gathering Mist, which was last year's book,
Right.
on the peninsula and put in the really rainy climate on the
Right.
Olympic Mountains and gave that for Mattie to battle. But I don't know. People want me to bring them back here, so they might come back in the future.
So that's really my question in part before we start talking about the book and the plot and the relationship of Mattie and Robo and other dogs in this book and in the series. You have a very loyal fan base. Can we talk about that a little bit? Because it seems old-fashioned and yet new-fashioned. Old-fashioned, I feel that authors maybe used to have fans or fan clubs and maybe even meet them. And then it seems that everything got disconnected, not because of COVID, just because of modern life. But now with social media is a way to, but you physically meet your fans, don't you?
I try to. Boy, I am so grateful for readers because readers and the reviews and purchasing my books is what keeps my series alive. And so publishers want series that readers want. And so it's been wonderful to have readers. I try to meet readers at least twice a year in two fan-based conferences. One is called Left Coast Crime, and Left Coast Crime is set in the springtime, and it's always on the western region of the United States. And then the other one is BoucherCon, which is in the fall. And both of those conferences are set up so that readers can meet authors. And so it's a lovely way to get to meet and interact with my readers.
It's an extraordinary way. I don't think that all of us, or even many of us, realize there is this real life relationship, ongoing and quite vibrant relationship between authors like you who have created a book, which then becomes a series, which now has a life of its own, in that you have fans saying, when's the next one? And when does that happen in modern life? It's, I won't say it's a gift to you. You've created the environment and you go to these conferences. I think we've all heard of literary festivals, but it's not the same thing as a fan-based meeting place. So Left Coast Crime, all the authors there do mysteries or thrillers or crime novels.
That is correct. And actually, BoucherCon is called the World Mystery Conference. So people come from all over, really. It's nothing to hear foreign languages spoken in the hallways, to meet writers of crime fiction. So both conferences focus on mysteries, thrillers, and suspense.
So does your publisher send a box of 100 books? How do they know how many books to send? How many fans will come? My guess is your fans might buy more than one book.
That's possible. Now, the conferences always have a bookseller
I
there.
see.
So
Nice.
the bookseller asks authors prior to us coming what books we want them to stock in the bookstore. And
Oh,
they
I
usually limit us to 2 or 3 titles. My next book is going to be my 10th book in the series. I usually do my current title and maybe my first title. Now, the bookseller at this coming VoucherCon has said that they can only stock one book. So I'm stocking the book that's current right now, which is Gathering Mist.
but Dying Cry is your newest,
And Dying Cry is the newest.
and that will be
Right.
out in time for,
It won't be out in time for VoucherCon this fall.
so it comes up really fast.
Yes,
So here's the question. When people, so on the cover of Dying Cry, the Denver Post has called you one of the West's finest contemporary mystery writers. When you
yeah.
get a review like that, how does that feel?
It feels really good. I really appreciate that. Standing Dead, which is book 8 in my series, finaled for a Spur Award. And the Spur Award is given by Western Writers of America. And so it felt very good and validating to have both that Spur Award finalist honor and this quote from the Denver Post.
But you don't need to have cowboys in boots with spurs on them to be a Western writer. It simply has to be set in a location in the West of America.
That is correct. And most of us in Women Writing the West, some of us are definitely writing historical fiction, but many of us are writing contemporary fiction.
Which is obviously what you're writing.
Yes.
When the fans either meet you or write to you, do they ask for specific things? Do they ask you questions about the future of Mattie and Cole and I don't know what happens when Robo gets older? Do they ask you these questions?
Sometimes they're just letting me know how much they enjoy the books. Recently, because Gathering Mist has a person with visual impairment in it, he is actually blind, and he is an ear witness to the crime itself. He heard something that helps them follow another lead in the crime. I've had some people write to me who are blind and who use guide dogs, specifically guide dogs provided by Guide Dogs of America. And it has been so great to get to visit with them. I visited over Zoom recently with a couple in Hawaii, and we talked about her guide dogs. So if people want me to appear on their book club or to speak over Zoom with their library, I offer those free of charge. If any of your listeners want to contact me through my website, they're sure welcome to.
Is it Timber Creek Canine Mystery, or do they have to know how to spell Margaret Mizushima? Although it
They have
is
to know they have to know how to get close enough that it'll pop up in a browser. But yeah, Margaret is spelled just as usual, Margaret, Mizushima, Mizushima.com.
now your husband is a veterinarian, and Cole, the main protagonist alongside our heroine, is a veterinarian. Is he a man of Japanese descent? Is his background
Yes,
Japanese?
yes, he's third generation American Japanese.
Interesting. Interesting, just that we all forget that there's so many cultures in America, and the Japanese culture in America is a tortured tale. So that's an interesting sideline to which is has nothing to do really with the topics of your books, except for that it's nice to know that cultures or people of cultures that have had a hard time in this country have prevailed and excelled
That's
and
right. That's
and
absolutely right.
are much appreciated and loved by those of us with any sort of brains and compassion. So I just want to say it's a wonderful last name to have. It doesn't
Yes.
sound like Smith or Allen. That's just fine and easier to find because it's unusual. Dying Cry has a lot of action in it. A lot of all your books do. Are you that person? Are you that person with hiking boots and hiking poles? And because it feels page after page that Margaret has been on that mountain or on that trail, how do you make it that real? Do you do it yourself?
I used to, Tracie. Now that I'm in my 70s, I don't as much as I used to. I'm afraid to say I'm at my computer a lot, writing a book a year. We do have some really nice trails about a half mile away that I get out there and still walk on those. But I used to hike the high country of Colorado. Never made it to the top of a 14er, but certainly did to peaks that were 12,000 and 13,000 feet. So I
Numbers.
have that background way back when.
It doesn't matter. It's in your DNA, it's in your cerebral cortex or something, and it really comes through. And the sense of danger and jeopardy and the changeability of the weather it
Yeah.
plays a part in your books, where it seems
Mhm.
like a nice day and now a wind blows in and now it's very cold, or maybe the snow has covered up footprints, or you have to move fast to make sure the snow doesn't cover up footprints. That nature plays a really big part in your books.
Yes, we have a saying in Colorado, if you don't like the weather, just wait 2 hours because it is very changeable. It can change right away. I really have a love for the high country of Colorado and the public lands that are there, and feel that Rocky Mountain National Park is one of the most beautiful spots on earth. I used to try to get there at least once a week. I was about an hour and a half away from that as far as where I lived. But during the summertime, I was trying to get there as often as I could to hike those trails and get up to those beautiful mountain lakes.
Nice. I think that really comes through in the book. The other thing that comes through is your love of dogs. A
Yeah.
lot of it is research because you're very well steeped with expert input from people that you acknowledge at the back of the book for how they interact with their dogs and how the dogs are trained and how the dogs communicate with their humans or their humans notice the communication. When's the last time you had a dog?
We still have dogs. Yes, we did lose one in May. So we
I
are
thought
down.
I was
Yeah.
afraid to ask.
Yes, our oldest dog, she was over 15 years old and we lost her. But we have a German short hair pointer named Birdie, who we have had for 7 years now. She's about 7 years old now.
Hiking dog.
She is. She's got lots of energy. Whew.
Having recently gotten a Vizsla, having morphed from Weimaraners who are cousins to German Shorthair Pointers, any of you listening with these dogs, is we talk about them, we love them, they're empathetic and emotionally connected, and they need
Yes.
a lot of exercise.
They do. They do. I think it would be so hard to have one if you lived in a condo and didn't have a big yard, or in our case, we do have a small acreage, and the previous owners put up a perimeter fence, which contains our dog. So she's able to
Right.
really get a lot of exercise. And she loves to sit at the base of the Douglas fir trees and look up at the squirrels. So that's one of her favorite things to do.
Now, Robo he's a German Shepherd in the
That's
book,
correct.
and he's got a different kind of energy. It's a very directed energy because he comes from a herding group. So he's a dog who wants to be doing a job, a very specific job that he knows. And throughout the book, Mattie readies him for his search and rescue work or for scenting certain kinds of things, sometimes drugs, sometimes a lost human, sometimes tracking, with moistening his nose and his mouth. And that's just, oh, it's interesting because once you get to know, we as the reader get to know your characters, we're like, oh, is she going to give him a drink first? I'm like, Maddie, don't forget the drink. It's really great. You get us in on it, the rituals.
Mm.
Is that something that you learned from the people who do tracking?
That's good. That's really good. Yes. My husband and I, when we were in our 30s, did train two of our dogs in search and rescue. And it was invaluable experience for what I'm doing now with writing the books. Back then, I had no idea I'd be writing these books.
Isn't
But
that something?
yes, we learned all those tricks of how to help a dog track.
Yeah, really interesting. We've picked out a nice little section for you to read in Die and Cry, just to remind people what a wonderful writer you are and how you bring a dog and a human and an environment to life. So we have him looking now. You can set it up. You're always good at setting it up. I'll let you set it up and then read it.
This excerpt occurs after they have found a dead body, and Chief Deputy Brody and Mattie and her K-9 Robo, the German Shepherd we've been talking about, are out investigating the track that this person made before he fell off of a cliff. And they're trying to decide if this was an accident or not. And of course, in a murder mystery, we're leaning towards homicide. So
And many different potential bad guys.
that's right. So the three characters that will be mentioned are Brody, Mattie, and Robo. Brody adjusted the radio mic at his shoulder while Mattie bent and started the chatter Robo was waiting for, fluffing his fur at his neck and along his rump behind his vest. Mattie led him away from the ledge, keeping him far enough away from the track to preserve the odd prints for the CSI team to see. She stopped when she arrived at the fence. Once they crawled through the wooden poles to the other side, she strapped on her snowshoes and then directed Robo's nose right down to the depressions in the snow, telling him to scent this. The moisture in the snow provided excellent conditions for trapping scent, although the wind could always work against them. Robo had been trained to find people after taking scent from an article of their clothing, but he could also pick up a trail by finding the hottest or most recent scent on the ground. She'd even asked him before to whiff scent directly from a car seat, and he'd picked up a track and followed it. She had no doubt that her dog would catalog scents from the two people who'd walked this way earlier. And Robo did exactly what she asked him to. He sniffed the prints in the snow and then started to follow them away from the fence. Good boy, search, she told him as she unclipped his leash to give him the freedom of following his nose. Another skill Robo had learned as a patrol dog was backtracking a trail. In other words, he could pick up a fresh scent and follow it backward toward its origin. This skill was often used in urban areas to backtrack a thief who might have stashed whatever he'd stolen right before he was caught. Many a K-9 handler had discovered hidden cash and other valuables this way. A human could track this trail through the snow, but you never knew when it would run across stony ground or disappear into a sheltered spot. With Robo on it, though, they were much more likely to be able to find where the track began. Her dog trotted along, his nose alternating between the ground and the air. Mattie didn't know if he was just checking out the air or if he could be air scenting one of the targets on this trail. If it were the latter, the target wouldn't be Tom. He was dead and gone. It would be their suspect, and that thought created a tingling on Mattie's spine. K-9 officers were more susceptible to on-the-job injuries because their partners took them right up to the bad guys. Mattie had known that from the get-go, but she decided that working K-9 was worth it. She never had a partner she trusted and loved like Robo. Her childhood experiences had set her up for trust issues as an adult, so it hadn't been in her nature. Her dog had become her best friend, and he taught her how to trust again. She wouldn't trade that for the safety of the back line during an encounter like this one. Besides, Brody usually covered her from that position, and her ability to trust her partner had extended to the humans she worked with as well. Robo's interest in the air made Mattie hypervigilant. She scanned the area ahead, across the open space and beyond to the forest. Was someone lurking behind one of the trees, watching? A chill came over her that wasn't brought on by the wind. The prints beside the dragging footprints that Mattie assumed Tom had made remained fuzzy and blurred. It looked like whoever made them had backtracked their own trail, treading along their own footsteps, coming and going. Within a few minutes, Robo crossed into the woods. Mattie searched each tree, straining to see through the boughs, hoping to spot danger before it was too late. Once the forest closed around them, it became harder to see in the dim light. She could sense Brody behind her, and she knew he held his AR-15 ready, close to his chest. She was able to float on her snowshoes across the deep snow, but didn't know how agile she would be if she needed to dart sideways to take cover. She kept a close eye on Robo, observing his body language, hoping his demeanor would change to warn her if someone planned to ambush them up ahead. They'd probably come only a quarter of a mile from the edge of the canyon when Robo came upon a road. There, the tracks in the snow told another story. "Take a look at this, Brody," she said.
It's great because you cover so much of their relationship, who she is, and how they work together and how a dog does his work, which is tremendous. When you mentioned the snowshoes, I found that fascinating that she has a special kind of, I guess you call them high-tech snowshoes that allow you to stay more on the surface and they're more nimble or smaller. I thought that's great because I thought snowshoes are good for deep snow, but you move like a tyrant, like you move like a big old elephant in them, but not these special snowshoes she had.
Yes, the more athletic people. I've only snowshoed one time, and my snowshoes were big and bulky, but the tactical gear allows for these more modern snowshoes that are for highly athletic people, and they can just glide over the snow and actually run, which Mattie does on her snowshoes after she hears the cry that comes from the canyon.
It was really interesting because you suddenly can envision, oh, you think snowshoes have been around forever. You think of old-fashioned ones made of wood and I don't know, the gut of
Yes.
some whale or something, whatever they were, made into a basket weave. And modern ones are made of some kind of, or not as modern as these in the book, some kind of very light aluminum and stuff, but they're still big and clunky. So you know that there's a modern high-speed version, the Ferrari.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and they have actually a pivot point near the ball of the foot to actually allow people to run.
It's very cool. There's so many things in the book that are very specific like that. Equipment and just all kinds of forensic facts so that we feel we're in the hands of a master or a mistress when you're writing. Like we
Well,
have total confidence that you know what you're talking about and we can just take it on faith. That's how it is. That
you.
work.
Thank you.
It's a good feeling. You don't ever doubt, really? Could that happen? Could a dog do that? Yeah. If Margaret Mizushima says so, it's true.
I have a lot of great consultants who have shared their stories with me.
Yes.
And the real Robo, Robo that this character was named after, he was top dog in many of the competitive trials that
Oh, nice.
the K-9 handlers would get together and compete in regional trials. And so he was definitely a wonder dog back in
Isn't
the
that
day.
nice? So you took that to be your canine star and character. He obviously is in really nice paw prints. The guy who he's named after was obviously an amazing dog. Margaret,
Yeah,
you've done a wonderful book wonderful job with this book, Dying Cry, a Timber Creek Canine Mystery. And I'm sure that your fans are going to be thrilled to see you at both of the fan conferences. And anyone who wants to know more about it, how to reach Margaret, how to have her talk to your book club or your library, it's margaretmizushima.com. Margaret, thank you for being here and congratulations on another seriously wonderful book.
thank you for having me as a guest. I always enjoy visiting with you.
Me too, you. Take care.